1849, the New York, Lake Erie and Western Railway laid tracks through Corning under cover of nightfall. For 101 years, Erie trains passed through Corning's south side between Jersey City, New Jersey and Chicago, Illinois. On November 22, 1952, 8 miles of newly relocated Erie Main line opened on Corning's north side. The new Erie route eliminated 25 railroad crossings between mileposts 286 and 295, and most importantly, eliminated the Erie's presence and its dominance along the wide boulevard known as Erie Avenue. The new Corning Main was officially opened when train number 2, the Erie Limited, arrived from Chicago at 11:52 a.m. en route to Jersey City, New Jersey. Passenger train service declined and eventually ended in the late 1960s, and the Erie station became abandoned. It was torn down in the summer of 1990. Relocation paralleled its one-time competitor turned merger partner, the Delaware, Lackawanna and Western Railroad, which made connections possible between Hoboken, New Jersey and Buffalo, New York. The Erie merged with the Lackawanna in October of 1960, forming Erie Lackawanna, which became Conrail in 1976. Today it is owned by Norfolk Southern. Corning was also served by a third railroad company, the New York Central. The Lackawanna and the Erie both crossed the New York Central on Corning's north side. The Erie shifted tracks at East Corning, passing along the north side of Corning through the village of Riverside, Painted Post, and ending up at the new yards at Gang Mills, New York. This is also the story of the rebuilding of Route 17, the New York State Southern Tier Expressway. It also had to be removed from downtown Corning. Erie's new Gang Mills yard replaced the old one on Corning's south side. In 2005, 2006, and 2007, a new highway construction project would also change the area slightly. But at the time, in 1951, the new Lumber Street Bridge overhead crossing replaced the old at-grade crossing with the original alignment at Gang Mills. Just east of Gang Mills is the village of Riverside, where both main lines intersect each other at milepost 292. A connecting track was built to reach the new Erie Freight House, which was built on the only remaining stretch of the original Erie Main line. The track also served the Corning fiber box plant, which later became Weyerhaeuser, present-day store flat. My grandfather, Merlin Kilburn, owner-operator of Kilburn Sheet Metal, built the vent system atop the Corning fiber box building. The box factory track was once part of the original mainline configuration. Conrail stopped operations at the Freight House in 1986. Built in 1952, the Erie Freight House on West William Street closed its doors and was torn down in the summer of 1987. Both the Erie Relocation and the Corning Bypass, and also Hurricane Agnes, would change the face of Riverside forever. My great-uncle, Carlisle Walker was his name, was the yardmaster for the New York Central, located on Corning's north side, where the main line of the Lackawanna was always busy. He often shared stories from railroading's golden age. The Central entered Corning from the south shores of the Tioga and Chemung rivers. The Central was merged with the Pennsylvania Railroad, becoming Penn Central in the mid-60s, and later became Conrail. 1977, Conrail built a new connection, allowing the original New York Central route on the north side to be abandoned and ripped up. The Central actually got its start in 1860 and was known as the Fallbrook Railroad. It became New York Central in 1899. The Fallbrook Railroad had its headquarters at the corner of Steuben Street and Tioga Avenue, along with American Brake Shoe Company, the Corning Iron Works, and the Roundhouse. In 1868, the Brooklyn Flint Glass Works relocated to Corning, becoming the Corning Flint Glass Works in 1875. Corning Glass Works was instrumental in successfully mass-producing large quantities of railroad safety lenses used throughout the world and to this day.
On the old New York Central Fallbrook line.
A company now known as Corning Incorporated opened its new headquarters in 1994.
A flood alert from the Denison Weather Bureau has been declared for Elmira, St. Rose, and Corning. Flood evacuation plan has been put into operation, with residents of the south side being ordered to evacuate their homes. Stay tuned to this flood alert station.
In the early morning hours of June 23, 1972, floodwaters of the Chemung River ravaged Corning and many other areas. Many families were affected, including my own. My grandparents' home and business were eventually cleaned of the flood mud, put back into business until its closing in 1992, when the Corning bypass began to make its presence known in all our lives. I grew up playing in this neighborhood, watching and listening to the trains from my grandmother's ranch-style house.
I was born in 1967 right here at Corning Hospital.
And from those early years began my lifelong pursuit of accurately telling the story of the Erie Relocation and the Corning bypass. The new location of Buffalo Street proceeds directly through where my grandmother's house once stood. My family's home and business were not the only ones affected by the construction of the Corning bypass. Childhood friends Fred Zorb, Jimmy Cutler, and Riverside Mayor Jerry Sullivan's kids, Mary, Kathy, and Tom, and several others, had their neighborhood erased as well. Being armed with the knowledge that the Corning bypass project was about to happen within my lifetime, I set out to preserve it for the good of the community for generations to come. It is also the story of history repeating itself. Just as Erie Avenue became clogged with railroad traffic, Denison Parkway had become choked with cars and trucks. Plans for a new highway corridor had been studied just prior to the flood of 1972. Actual construction began in 1990 to relocate the downtown section of Route 17 to the north side. A new section of superhighway was built at East Corning in 1981 and opened in 1984 between there and Centerway in the Crystal City. The Corning bypass opened for business in October of 1995.
August 5th, 1990. This is before the highway.
1990. Average mark.